All right, well, I'll go and get started. Good practice. Practice number 5. It's crazy to think we're a third of the way done. In fact, I just got done telling the team, we've got to count every single one of these days. They're so darn important, right? We know last year not having spring ball that every single one of these meetings, every single one of these walkthroughs, every single practice is so darn important to our continued development. Are we making strides? Sure. Are we where we want to be? Heck no. But I do like the growth of this. We still have a ton of work to do. So I've told you, it's very rare that you sit there and say, okay, we got a lot of starters are guaranteed. I like the competition, as you guys well know. It's something we've talked about in the past. So I think it's important to continue to push that. We tried to push the label today with the way we want to continue to compete. But with all that being said, I also appreciate you guys were able to make it out and get some video footage and see some stuff pre-practice. It was good for you guys to get in. Also, some of y'all hadn't had a chance to really see much of the indoor. So a good opportunity as well. So I'll open up to any questions.
Terry, first question.
What's up, Coach? How you doing?
Good, Terry. How are you?
Life is good. I know first week was about indoctrination, orientation, getting people to know your system. What do you expect to get out your second week? I know it's a lot to put in and a lot of new guys do. So what are your expectations just for the second week?
Yeah, Terry, now that we've got a base of our offense and a base of our defense, right? 4 practices in, going into our 5th today, right? That's kind of what we want, that scrimmage on Saturdays, to see guys play fast, get lined up, and execute the call. Now it's, okay, now that you know what you're supposed to do, now here come the wrinkles, right? Here are some of the other things, right? Some extra day installation, some things. Who can think fast? See guys want to continue to compete. We're seeing some guys are taking other guys' jobs. Guys are battling. I love it. And that's what I want every single day is guys bring their hard hat mentality. And, hey, we're going to try to develop some physical toughness this spring. We got a long time to recover. But I just, biggest thing now, Terry, is just continue to see everyday improvements, right? We can't take any steps backwards. And everything we get on film will be so important for, we'll start going into training camp, having stuff to be able to learn from that when we, strap it back on in August, it's no longer a learning process. It's how can we execute even better.
Stephen?
Hey, Ryan, one of the younger players I wanted to ask you about was Devontae Nelson. I know a couple years ago, local kid, very highly recruited. How has he looked this spring, and just how has he looked so far to you?
Yeah, Devontae's a young man. You're exactly right. From MUS, a local kid who was exactly highly recruited. In fact, I was in his high school, Stephen, before I left for my interview. He was the last young man I saw before I interviewed for the head coaching job here. So I remember sitting down in his high school quite well. And he's a guy that, for not the biggest guy in the world, Stephen, he plays really physical, right? He's got that pit bull mentality. He's tough. Like I say, he's got a little something in his neck, which is good. You want that for a guy that's not the biggest in the world. He continues to develop. He likes being thrown in the mix. I told him, you need to go compete for depth on their secondary and the opportunities there. But then I really like to see him step up a level and really be a 2 to 3 phase special teams guy as well. But we like his improvements. I think he's comfortable now with this defense. And now it's okay as things, right, processing, seeing the different route concepts that are coming at him, seeing the different run reads. He's certainly not afraid, which you love. Now it's just got to put it all together.
Evan?
Ryan, with the changes that have happened on the wide receiver side of the ball, obviously with Coach Simon, do you look more towards guys like Calvin kind of, stepping up more even into leadership, and also even kind of with guys like Javon and Todd, just with their experience? Do you expect them to kind of, help lead a little bit now because they are kind of, have that experience a little bit?
Absolutely. Evan, it can almost go back to you asked a very similar question, UCF week, right? And, hey, are you going to rely on some of these guys now? And I said, you got to rely on a guy like Calvin that's played, right? And Javon and Taj both stepped up significantly as our season progressed. And you got to see the growth, really, of all 3 of those. I still tell the story, guys, that Calvin Austin, ended last season and hadn't even been on a scholarship for a full year yet, and that's amazing to think this is only his first spring on scholarship. So the growth of all those guys has been phenomenal. And you're exactly right. We're going to rely on those guys that played a lot of football, and Javon, Taj, and Calvin, and continue to teach those guys that haven't had as many reps on the field, those live reps. Unfortunately, we're banged up. We got a lot of those redshirt freshmen. They're a little banged up. But as soon as they're ready to roll, we'd like to see them continue to grow. Kobe Webster, Kai Matthew, and Markel Jones are some guys that, that were here in our system last year that are still learning the offense, but now when they get healthy, hopefully we can throw them into the fold as well.
Mike?
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Good, Mike. How you doing?
Good. You told us going into spring that you thought that this quarterback battle would likely lead into August and fall camp, almost all the way up to the season opener. When you look at these guys now, I know as a coach, it's always easier to work with 2 guys than it is 4 or 5 guys. Is your hope that one of these guys, as you head toward Friday night stripes, that maybe 1 or 2 guys can pull away to where you're working with maybe 2, or do you see this being a 3, 4, 5 guy battle all the way in the fall?
Yeah, Mike, that's a good question because you're exactly right. Yeah, it's easier as a coaching staff to sit and say, okay, we can kind of put these 2 eggs in the basket and kind of really focus our attention on them. But it's a position, as you guys will know, right? It can change the top of the hat. It's transfer portal thing, right? I think quarterback's probably the most common position by percentage of guys that enter that portal. We like who we have in our room. I think our answer is here right now in our quarterback room. But in reality, I truly believe we're going in, and we'll be going into August, with a 4 quarterback battle and trying to see who can fight it out. If you sat there and said, okay, we had an incumbent guy, think about all the quarterbacks we've had in the past few years, right? Paxton Lynch, Riley Ferguson, Brady White. We don't have that guy right now. And we're hoping one of those guys can come up the next great Memphis quarterback in. We've seen flashes from all 4 guys. But we still need to continue to see growth. And I truly don't feel comfortable sitting here saying, hey, these are the top 2, because every day you'll say, wow, well, this guy did this, this guy didn't do this. And then the next day, but we're seeing steady growth in that quarterback room, and that's what we want to see.
Is there one guy that has been taking the predominant, first guy out, or have been and should we not look into that too much as who might be the first guy taking the first snaps?
Yeah, I would not look into it. I mean, if you would ask me who I'm really pleasantly surprised with, I mean, Seth Hennigan's been, and when I should say pleasantly surprised, I mean, he's like I told you guys last week, I think he just turned 18, right? He's 17. I don't think he shaves yet. And he's out there slinging around, has an understanding of our offense. He's been great. Peter Parrish has shown some great things and some great, growth. Like I said, these are some of the first live reps he's gotten with, some of the starters. You look at, all of our guys, right? From, my mind just went blank all of a sudden. I'm dehydrated. Keelan Brown sitting there getting reps with the first team. And I talked about his athleticism and everything he's been able to do. And then, you look at our quarterback transfer from Arizona. I mean, he's out there. Grant's doing a lot of good things too. But like I said, they all got to continue process. I don't say one's ahead of the others. We truly are getting a rotation. This is the most reps our quarterbacks have gotten. So you can't sit here and say, well, he's gotten all the reps with the ones. That's not the case. So our 4th guy has gotten reps with the 1, and our 1's gotten reps with the 4th, and so be it.
Ryan?
Hey, Coach, Sean Dykes is the elder statesman at tight end, but how's the competition with the young guys behind him?
Yeah, so Sean, you're exactly right. There's one guy that you sit there and say is our tight end. It is Sean Dykes. We need to continue to grow his strengths in the run game. We know what a threat he is in the passing game. And then if you look behind him, we've got guys that we're going to continue to try to get reps. We've got 4 guys right now that are competing. Arrington McCray is one of the freshmen that came in. We're really excited by his growth. And then you look at some other guys that we have at that spot. And, I just think it's going to be a wide open competition. I hate to say it like the quarterback, but Drew Martin's a young man that's sitting there that hasn't got a lot of reps. But he's really showing some strengths in the run game, and we need to continue to bring along his passing game. But he's a guy who hadn't got a lot of reps other than a few special teams towards the end of last year. And then a guy named John Hassel, right, who's kind of been a local guy that hadn't seen him much on the field. But those 2, I think, are competing in a role to see who can get, continue to gain. And then Caden Piercecorn. Caden's a big body guy that, again, you guys hadn't seen a whole lot until the end of last season. Some of those names you guys probably would never have heard of if it weren't for, our roster issues towards the end of last year. But I think those 3 guys, Caden, John, and Drew Martin, will battle for that number 2 spot. And you'd feel comfortable with any of them going in. And then don't be surprised if Arrington finds himself on the field before the season's all said and done.
Steven?
Yeah, Ryan, I know last week you talked about the depth at linebacker, but I think being out there today it seems like you guys got more than just 4 starters, if I'll just put it like that. So how are you just going to decide between some of the guys from last year, some of the new faces as well too? What are some of the ways you're going to be trying to grade that competition?
Yeah, Stephen, it's a good problem to have. And at that position, I truly feel like there's not much of a difference, right? You got JJ Russell. Well, if Keith Brown's backing up JJ Russell, I feel really comfortable with Keith Brown going the game, right? Keith Brown played at just as many reps as the starters in the Navy game, right? Then you got Zay Collins, who I think is a bona fide star. And if Zay is backing up Thomas Pickens, so I really feel like, you talk about those four guys in the inside, right? And then you talk about Cole Mashburn, Jalen Allen, Jaleel Clemens. I mean, which one are you going to choose as an outside backer? These are great issues to have, great problems. So I really feel like the reality will be able to roll. And I think having that depth at that linebacker position is going to be huge. And then we got a ton of young linebackers. Andrew Jones already here. We got some other guys that will continue to come and keep coming on. So we're excited.
We'll do two more, starting with Evan.
Ryan, just out of curiosity, after pro days came on my mind a little bit, when guys over the winter, talked about maybe exploring their draft options, what kind of experience and information kind of do you help with that process? Because we know obviously you've been there, we know what Mike did before, but just kind of what's that process like when that this past winter when guys are exploring the draft and kind of how that conversation goes a little bit.
Yeah, Evan, I think it's always so important that you try to, one, educate your players, and two, be as open and honest and truthful with them. And that's what it was, right? I try to gather as much information as I can. I don't care if I know deep down my heart that it's probably not that makes sense for them to go to the draft, or if, I've dug up some information, it does make sense. So you have those discussions not only with the individual, but anybody else that may make decisions, right? Whether it's a family member, a parent, a guardian that kind of has that. So we have those discussions. I try to find out, you can submit names into the NFLPA and they can kind of get an idea on a rough draft grade or if they think they should come back. And you have those discussions. And I think that's important. And you're candid with the guys. It's harder and harder to have straightforward, conversations with 18 to 23-year-olds and say, hey, here's the reality of this thing. And deep down, I think they appreciated that when you said, here's what they said, here's the things you can work on. Great. We've seen it all throughout the country, right? Not often are college guys always listening to the advice of their college coach, but you try to give them as much information from as many people as you can, right? Whether it was Calvin Austin or even Brady White the year before, right? JJ Russell and I had conversations about things that he could work on in order to improve himself. I think those are important. I think those discussions are good to have. I'm very open about it. I want to have them. I met with every single player on our team prior to the bowl game, and I kind of sat down and I said, hey, here's what we can discuss and how we can discuss it, and here's the process for it. Let's not make any rash decisions. And I'll do everything I can to help them, whatever direction they choose to go.
Terry, last question.
Defensive question, Coach. You're losing a lot on your defensive line, but you got a lot of size and experience coming back. What's your expectation? What do you want those guys to do other than get indoctrinated to the system this spring to have a quick start in the fall?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We did lose some depth there, but I think we're adding some depth, right? You guys forget about John Tate, right? I mean, it's great to have him back. Cameron Jackson was a big-time recruit that I'm hoping really turns it up. I think Mo White's going to be a guy, Quan Robinson, John Cartwright, Wardalis Ducksworth. I mean, we got some bodies there. I truly believe Maurice Joseph has a chance to be the best defensive lineman in this conference. I mean, Mojo is a fantastic player. He's dealing with a shoulder injury right now, off-season recovery. But, you want to talk about a lot of respect for that room. I've got the utmost respect for Coach Kyle Pope. I think he does a fantastic job developing them. So, now that, Terry, you're exactly right, learning this defense, I feel like they've got a good understanding of it. Now I want to see them dominate the line of scrimmage, right? And our number one deal always as a defense will be to stop the run. You guys will say, oh, Ryan, people are passing all over. That's okay. I trust the depth of our secondary and our linebackers and coverage that the D-line will be able to get after the pass rusher as well. So really excited about that group. Like I said, I think if you look top to bottom, this is the most depth we've had at our defense. And part of it, like I said, is because we got 103 guys out for spring football, which I think that's the biggest roster that Memphis has ever had.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thank you, guys. You all have a good evening. Appreciate it.